today we're taking over the Brewers because their postseason has come to an end. And it was a crazy series with the Mets. Holy cow, back and forth. And it came down to the Pete Alonso home run that was the difference. And as a Cubs fan, it's great to see that the Brewers won't be winning a World Series, but I got to admit they are a very well-run organization. They're really good at finding talent. They're really good at developing talent. They're really good at drafting. They're just a well-run organization. And no matter how good their season is or how good the team is, it always seems like they fall a little bit short. And because of that, they've never had a World Series in their organization's history. So with that being said, I'm going to come in, I'm going to take over. Let's go win them a World Series. So like I said, the Brewers are really good at finding talent, developing talent, making everything work. And when they lost Brandon Woodruff this season, they did sign him to a second year for his contract, so they will have him next year, but losing him this year was kind of a big thing, right? And then on top of that, they also did trade away Corbin Burns, so they didn't have him this season either. So you're losing your top two pitchers. And offensively, they lost Christian Yelich too, which that's a big bat to lose. Obviously, the back injury is a little bit of a worrisome thing, right? Like you're swinging, that involves your back, and it could be something that lingers. Hopefully it doesn't. Christian Yelich is a great ball player, and it's good for baseball to have him in it. But I mean, offensively, Willy Adames is going crazy in his contract here. Jackson Chourio is legit super jealous that he's a Brewer. You've got William Contreras, who's been pretty good. And just the rest of the team, you look at them and you go, these aren't superstars, but they're really good players and they get the job done. They do what is asked of them. There's good fielding, good contact, speed. They just play good baseball. And then Freddie Peralta is a great pitcher. You have Tobias Myers, who was kind of like one of those guys that you didn't really hear too much about, and he gave a really good season. Colin Ree also had a really good season. The bullpen was fantastic. The Brewers, like I said, they're just good at making players good. So with that being said, let's get to the offseason. Let's go see what we can do with this Brewers team. Before we get into the offseason though, let's talk about the talent that we're going to be adding to this farm system, which I actually did forget to talk about the Brewers because I really wasn't too familiar with their top prospects. I know Tyler Black is number 5 in their organization according to Pipeline. Number 4 is Jesus Made, who I don't have on this roster. I think he's like 17, 18 in the Dominican League. Then they have Mizorowski, and there's another pitcher in Robert Gasser who's just outside the top 5. But there's Gasser, there's Mizorowski, who is nasty. The guy throws gas. I know about him. And then the final 2 are Cooper Pratt, who I know I don't have on this roster, and Jefferson Cuero. Jefferson Cuero could definitely be a piece for us because catcher position, like Francisco Mejia, I don't even know if he's still in the organization for the Brewers, but Gary Sanchez isn't a long-term guy, and William Contreras could end up being a DH for us or just split time with Cuero. So the catcher spot is definitely an area where like I could see Cuero becoming useful for us in the future. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But speaking of rosters, because I saw a lot of you guys on the last video, the Diamondbacks video that came out a couple days ago, were asking for what roster I'm using. And to be honest, I'm using a roster that I've been using for months now. Like, it is really old. It's just I have edited it to keep up to date, and I've really been trying to find a new roster. The issue that I'm finding is a lot of people have just been overrating players like crazy. Like, I'm not trying to pick on Brent Doyle, but a lot of people are putting Brent Doyle as like a 90 overall with like really good hitting. And then there'll be other players where they're just giving them way too high of potential. And it's really difficult to find a good roster right now. So I don't have a roster to recommend for you all, especially at this point of the season. If I find one, I will put it in my next video. So just be on the lookout there. So let's talk about the players that we've drafted, and we got some really good talent. Manny Fernandez, the #1 player according to our scouts. We got him with the 17th pick. Low rated at 58, right? But the 92 potential looks fantastic. I like the velocity. I think maybe by the 5th season, we might see him in the rotation. We got Adam Wright, who is a catcher, but can also play third and left. So we could throw him at third. I think maybe fits best. But a switch hitting catcher with already really good hitting stats, I really like that. We got Corey Tillman, another pitcher. We've got Houston Parnell, which I had literally no scout report about, but I figured I wanted to add another position player, and it was a bad choice because he only has 73 potential. Sean Gehringer, 1857 overall, and then a potential as well. He only has 3 pitches though, and 60 stamina. Might be a reliever, but 97 potential is pretty good. 84 potential for Amoros. We've got 80 something potential for Duffy, who also has really good hitting stats, which is awesome to see. and then Jason Nishi out of Japan, 44 overall. Not really expecting much from him. Alrighty, so how do I want to approach this rebuild? I want to do it a Brewers way. I don't want to go out and sign Juan Soto. I don't want to go out and sign the top rated free agent every single year. And I know that's a little bit different because that's what I usually do. I try to find those top players, or I make some crazy trades, but the Brewers do it different. You know, they find Willy Adames. You know, they trade for him because he was struggling with the Rays. He did come out and say that he struggled with the batter's eye in Tampa Bay. And, you know, they went and got William Contreras, who was like an okay catcher, right? And they turned him into a good defensive catcher and a better hitter, right? They're doing things like that, and they're not afraid to trade away their best players if they know they can't re-sign them to a team-friendly deal. So currently, this is our offseason. These 5 guys have become free agents, but Willy Adames, I do have an offer out for. And you're probably thinking, why would I offer him a contract? You just said you don't want to go out and spend crazy money. You're willing to let players go. Well, Willy Adames, he put up a decent season, right? I think in this save, just under an 800 OPS, but he's willing to sign for $11.5 million a season, which I feel like is a very decent deal. I also looked in, kind of did some research to see what shortstops were becoming free agents over the next couple of years, and the names that I considered were like Jeremy Pena, Bo Bichette, Geraldo Perdomo, JP Crawford, and then Gunnar Henderson, but Gunnar Henderson is definitely gonna be too expensive. So the other names available, I felt like keeping Willy Adames as a Brewer just made the most sense, and for $11.5 million a year, it's not too bad. He probably will get a little bit more in real life, but $11.5 million here, pretty decent deal. I also do have Joe Barlow as an option for the bullpen, and Wesley Duffy I have to resign because he went into free agency due to us having too many players on the roster. So I did look at the team. I do feel like we do need a starter, so I'm gonna see if I can find someone there, maybe a bullpen arm or 2. And then lineup wise, I made Tyler Black a first baseman, so we're gonna see how he develops in the minor leagues for another season, and I could look to upgrade this first base position. I'm just not too sure yet. But I was talking about potentially trading players that I can't sign to a team-friendly deal, or I just feel like just doesn't fit my plans, and that is going to be Devin Williams. For me, he's on my do not acquire list for MLB The Show because he always lets me down. He always screws me over. He always performs poorly. And speaking of performing poorly, apparently he was tipping pitches against the Mets, and that's maybe why he gave up those runs. Apparently his fastball and his change, his glove was sitting in a different position, which may have, you know, tipped something away and allowed the Mets to pick up on that. But besides the point, I'm gonna get rid of him, and I was using the Josh Hader trade as reference, where they sent him to the Padres. They got Dinelson Lamet, Robert Gasser, and Esteury Ruiz. I don't think I can get that kind of return for him, but I'm going to go to the Yankees, who are currently dealing with closer situations, bullpen situations. Enyel De Los Santos is a White Sox now, so I won't trade for him, even though he was claimed by the White Sox on waivers because the Yankees put him on waivers. But the prospect I'm going to acquire is Will Warren, and then I'm going to pick up a reliever. All right, it's going to be Scott Efros, who I know didn't really pitch that much for the Yankees, but something about him, even though he was a Cub at one point, I feel like I could see him as a Brewer, which would be kind of gross, but it's going to happen. This is going to be the trade. Again, I don't think it's Josh Hader levels. I also don't think Devin Williams is Josh Hader levels when Josh Hader got traded. So a decent pitching prospect and then a reliever. I feel like there we go. That's what I'm going to get from the Yankees. And then I don't necessarily need a first baseman because I looked it up. Jake Bauers did play a lot of first base for the Brewers. I didn't realize he played that much first base. I thought he was more like DH / kind of filled in at first base, but he played like almost 80 games at first base. So I'm going to go for Nick Pratto just in case, you know, Bauers falls off a little bit and I just need like some sort of first baseman. I do have Tyler Black as a first baseman. That's why his rating went down from 68 or whatever it is to 63. I moved him from shortstop to first base, but just in case we need a little bit more depth, we've got Nick Pratto there. I'm gonna trade Blake Perkins because he has deep potential, and I know he was, you know, somewhat of a cult hero this year. At the beginning of the year, he was terrible to face as a Cubs fan because there was one game where he literally had like 3 or 4 RBIs and he made like 4 diving catches. It was ridiculous, but I'm gonna trade him because he's not gonna get any better, and let's just pick him up. So with that being said, we've got a little bit of depth at first, probably need like a veteran outfielder just in case, and then potentially a starter. Honestly, not too bad of an offseason. And then I think the last move I'm going to do is Chris Paddock. He's on the trade block, and just I don't know, something about it just feels like, hey, he's gonna be wearing the stirrups in Milwaukee. I'm gonna give Hedbert Perez. I'm pause. I'm gonna trade Hedbert Perez and Sam Carlson, and we're gonna get Chris Paddock, and we'll put him at the back of the rotation. All right, let's start the actual first season. Ranked 12th, third in contact, fourth in defense. Pitching's kind of sitting around the middle, but you know what? I like what I did this offseason. So this is what we're currently looking like. Obviously, we had the acquisitions of Chris Paddock. We also had the acquisitions of Will Warren. I brought in a couple relievers through some trades and some free agency signings, and I do have a couple players on waivers that I'll show you in a second. But this is the Major League bullpen. Guys are returning. I'm going to give Abner Uribe a shot because I didn't last year. The guy's got electric stuff. We'll see what we can do with him. See if he does well. The walks per 9 being low could be an issue, but he has decent control, so I have a little bit of faith. On waivers, we have DL Hall. I accidentally missed that I used all of his options, so hopefully he doesn't get claimed. Normally players don't get claimed the first time you put them on waivers, like at the beginning of the season. It's when it happens later on in the year. That's when they usually get claimed. And then where are they? Bryce Wilson and Nick Mears also on waivers, so just more bullpen depth if we need it. And then offensively, not too much has changed. Our first baseman is going to be Jake Bauers. We also do have Max Kepler, who can play a little bit of outfield, maybe first base. But this just seems like a guy who can come off the bench, help us out a little bit. Pretty solid bat to have off the bench. We do have Rhys Hoskins, Monasterio Mejia, and Owen Miller. So that's the squad. Nick Prado's currently on waivers as well. Just because I was looking at our first base options, Owen Miller could give us a little bit more flexibility on the infield. And this way I can get Prado every day at bats and have him in AAA along with Tyler Black. So these two will be fighting it out for that first base future. That's really about it. I mean, we do have some prospects here and there, but realistically, we do need to add a little bit of depth in that farm system. An outfielder would be kind of nice, just because I'm not writing anybody off. Like Jackson Chourio is definitely a guy I want to keep in the lineup. We've got Yelich as a DH, potentially an outfielder if we really need him. South Frelick. But this is the one I'm just like not 100% sure on. And I don't have anything against Garrett Mitchell. It's just I'm not too sure how well he's going to perform. Like 270 with a 760 OPS is great. Or like is good. Like, right, I'm not knocking it at all. But just in case, I would like to have, you know, some sort of prospect down here if it needed to be replaced. Like if somebody needed to be replaced, that's what I would like to have, at least some sort of prospect there. I don't remember if I mentioned this, but the prospect that I wanted in the draft got taken by the Cubs. It was Carlos Santiago. He was ranked 17th in the draft, and I think he ended up going, I forgot what the Cubs have. Does the Cubs have like the 14th pick or the 12th pick or something like that? He went there. That was really the pick that I was looking for, and sadly he went to the Cubs. But outside of that, like I said, I would like to try to get some sort of prospect in for the future, just in case we need it, right? Like Jake Bauers is 29, Yelich is 33, so we're going to see some regression with Yelich, but not too much. But then we do have South Frelick and Chourio to man the corners. Center field, we just don't have a lot of depth at all. So that's kind of like my main target. And I do have a couple trade targets in case it does happen. But again, I'm not trying to just kick Garrett Mitchell out of the team. Again, if any of these guys suck, I'll look to replace them. So let's move forward through the season and win a World Series. All right, so I'm normally not doing deadline moves unless I really have to, and I'm gonna pick up Trevor Rogers because he was on the trade block, and I want to see how many options he has left. He has one more option, which is perfect, but he's absolutely tearing it up in AAA, and Aaron Savale is getting torn up in the majors. So maybe the Orioles can fix him, and then maybe we can fix Trevor Rogers. We'll do a nice little swap, and we'll call it a day. So we do actually have to talk about somebody. We won that, which is awesome. Look at the guy that I discovered for this draft. Not ranked. He's from the Netherlands. He is the number 2 overall player in the draft, and we discovered him. He's a lefty bat, 23 years old, so he is a little bit older, but look at this guy. 78 overall. Look at the fielding, the speed, the hitting stats. Look at the potential at 97, and we got him with the 26th pick, the 26th or 25th, which is unbelievable. And then 89 potential for Todd Phillips, mid 80s for these two, which I'm okay with that. Another catcher, I know, but he was one of the better players that I had left on my board. Marcel Marin Marin. Marcel. He's there. And then we got a couple guys down here too, which overall, that's a pretty balanced, some position players, some pitchers. I like it, but PJ Wetzel, what a pick. There was one player who didn't get signed last year and re-entered the draft, and he went to the Blue Jays. And he was actually a player that I had on my board that I wanted, and I ended up going with whoever I went with first overall last year, or with our first pick last year. And he went to the Blue Jays this year. It was John Norris. And I honestly think his potential stayed the same, because that was kind of what I had last year when I was looking at him. He looked like a glove first shortstop, and the Blue Jays took him with the 5th pick. So there's that. So let me quickly fly through this. Any generational talents or anybody with some crazy potential, some closers with crazy potential, that's usually what happens there. But outside of that, okay, a couple pitchers, starting pitchers. Oh, there is one, Milt Caruso, generational talent. And then they got a 19-year-old closer who looks pretty good too. But Milt Caruso looks good. He looks good. Outside of that, oh, that's a good looking third baseman there. 95 potential for Antonio Feliz as well at first base. He was a player that I think got drafted before us. So, but I did have him on my board as a potential pick. But I'm glad we got PJ Wetzel. All right, what is going on with Abner Uribe's hat here? Why is it floating? Why is he the only one that has a floating hat? What is going on? Either way, I've made my call-ups. We're at the end of the season. As you can see, we are 7 games behind the Cubs. But, like, how are the Cubs, like, just running away with it? Like, what is going on with them? Because I like, looked at their team. It wasn't, oh, their pitching's just, excuse me, their pitching is nasty. Holy cow. How much did they pay Brebbia? Because this was a guy that I was interested in. $6 million? Really? I tried to sign him for a year. He wanted almost $8 million from me. Okay. And then offensively, though, it doesn't, I mean, there's some good and some bad, but like, it's nothing crazy. Noelvi Marte's on the Cubs. Did that happen in my Diamondbacks rebuild? Is this something that just happens now with this roster? I'm pretty sure this is the exact same trade that happened in my Diamondbacks rebuild. PCA got traded to the Reds for Noelvi Marte. Huh, they're rocking the 3 catcher system too? All right, whatever. All right, so we're a wild card team, 95 wins. I mean, that's a pretty good wild card team. It's just the Cubs won 100 and some games, 104, which is unreal. I mean, they had a 3.1 ERA, which is crazy. I got to see that as a team. Let's go team rankings. I don't even care about offense. I want to see, they were the second best pitching staff, with the Yankees being the best with a 305. Then it went to 312, then 326. Like, that's a big jump to go from 312 to 326. And where were we? We were 12th. Okay, so it could have been a little bit better for sure. It looks like, a couple guys may have fallen off towards the end of the year, but I know this is going to be a little jumbled up, so let's fix that. All right, so it looks like we have a league leader, or at least some sort of league leader, and an award. So we had the most walks for Yelich. That was really about it. Brandon Marsh led the league in batting average. Okay, we'll quickly fly through this just to get an idea of who's leading the league and what categories, maybe some possible targets. Like, okay, Will Brennan. Okay, 64 doubles by Trey Turner is pretty impressive. Other than that, I do see Willie Adames had the most triples, or tied for the most triples. Kerry Carpenter with the most triples there. Okay, interesting for sure. Okay, and then if we take a look at the awards, we had 2 Gold Gloves, Joseph Ortiz and Jackson Chourio. Okay, so Ohtani MVP, pretty good season. Spencer Strider right behind him, and Bryce Harper in the 3rd spot. Seager beating out Trout and Kerry Carpenter. Okay. Cy Young went to Strider. Jameson Taillon. If Jameson Taillon was in the Cy Young race, I would be flabbergasted as a Cubs fan. I'm not saying that Taillon's a bad pitcher, right? I think he's a perfectly fine pitcher, but to be in this Cy Young race would blow my mind. Oh wow. Okay. That's pretty good for the Yankees. Logan O'Hoppe and Brandon Marsh batting title winners. Kevin Ginkel, reliever of the year, beating out John Brebbia and Matt Strahm. Class A won it for the AL side. Gary Rodriguez was the rookie of the year, along with Dylan Cruz. Okay. So we're going to rock with the 4-man rotation for the postseason just because these two starters kind of struggled towards the end of the season. Chris Paddock wasn't bad. Like I'm not knocking him at all, but you know what? I felt like maybe we could have done a little bit better. He did bring down the whip, and then Tobias Myers basically about the same. Again, it's not a terrible season. It's just was hoping for a little bit better from him. Looking at our bullpen as a whole, it looks pretty good. I mean, 3.8 ERA, Trevor McGill. Okay, I'll keep my eye on him. Scott Efros came up, was probably the one that struggled the most in 16 innings. Then we've got Jared, we've got Joel Piamps, who was very good in this setup role, and then Brian Hudson as our closer. So overall, I'm pretty happy with it. And did that say 50 saves? It did say 50 saves. Good job. And then Peralta was unbelievable, our ace by far, and he went 10 and 12. So like, okay. Brandon Woodruff is starting to regress a little bit. I was thinking about potentially trying to bring him back on a super cheap deal, but I'm a little worried now. Is he not going to hold his rating, or at least maybe go up a rating or two? We'll see. We'll see what happens. DL Hall came up and was pretty good in 50 innings, so I like what I see there. And then Colin Ree was pretty solid. Or is it Colin Ray? We'll go with Colin, and he was pretty good too. So looking at the lineup, obviously the bench was a little bit of a bummer. Jake Bowers, I don't know what to do with him. Obviously, he's going to be a bench bat with the team moving forward. I think we've got one more year of arbitration, but maybe just face lefties, I guess. Monasterio was really just like our shortstop backup, and yeah, he wasn't great. Kepler, kind of the same, right? Like nothing too crazy there. Mejia was our backup catcher and was pretty bad, and then Christian Arroyo came up because the rest of our bats weren't fantastic. Like, oh, I thought Dunn was up. No, it was Owen Miller who was up. He wasn't great. We had Prado come up, and he was pretty bad too. But like I said, I was just picking him up just in case we ever needed some depth, because we do still have Tyler Black. We do have a couple other guys who can play that first base position. Jefferson Cuero developed pretty well versus lefties in the contact spot, but then power versus righties. Interesting. Vision and discipline and clutch went up quite a bit too. We also do have another catching prospect in Adam Wright, who that's pretty good growth right there. So that's good to see. That's good to see for sure. I think we have the top prospect. We do, and it is a pitcher. And actually, they flipped. Fernandez was the number one prospect at one point, and now Garinger is. Well, that's good to see. I like seeing that. Just really quickly, I'll kind of show you the growth of our top prospects here, and then we'll talk about the rest of our offensive lineup. I know I kind of went on a little side tangent here just to show you this, but just so you can get an idea of how our prospects grew really quickly. So pretty good growth. Like this guy really grew this season. Brock Wilkin not so much. Mizorowski not so much, which is a little disappointing because he was someone that I had my eye on. He plus 12 versus lefties, huh? Okay. Gasser did a little bit. Warren did. Okay. All right. It's good to see. Good to see some growth there for sure. And now quickly taking a look at our actual MLB lineup. Jackson Churio got his average up to 270 again after it went down to 260. Really happy with that. Christian Yelich, 24 home runs. Really good season from him. Adames, a little bit more power, it looks like. So a couple more hits. OPS is just shy of 800. Contreras, really good season. Like to see that with 38 doubles. We've got Bryce Terang, who was also good. Yeah, the OPS isn't 800, but I'm just looking for him to get on base, get some steals like he did there. I like the numbers. Rhys Hoskins had to come in at first base, and he was fine. Nothing special. Joseph Ortiz won a Gold Glove, and he actually had a really good season. It's Joey Ortiz. I don't know why I keep calling him by his formal name of Joseph, but he had a good season. He had a really good year. We've got Sal Frelick, who was also very good with an 842 OPS. Okay, and then Garrett Mitchell. I'm gonna give him more time. We'll see. I'm gonna give him this one more season. I think that's kind of the, hey, I've given you 3 full years. You know, this one was the one that we simmed. This was the one that we played out. Then we'll give him one more season and we'll see how it goes. And if it doesn't work out, then we can let Wetzel's Pretzels come in and dominate the outfield because he looks unreal. With that being said, it's postseason time. Taking on the Braves. Did we just win 10-1 against the Braves? We lost that one. It comes down to DL Hall. Like the offense came to play. These two, not so much, but really, we lost. We show up 10-1 game 1, and then we lose 6-1, 6-4. The Yankees defeat the Phillies. Okay. Well, That's tough. That's tough. That's unfortunate. Scherzer ends up in the Hall of Fame, and now I need a new manager, pitching coach, and first base coach. Okay, let's see here. I don't want Rhys Hoskins back. I don't. It's just I think there's better options out there. So I don't know here. So this is what I'm gonna rock with right now. I'm gonna keep Hoskins as like our bench first baseman, power bat off the bench. I'm gonna keep Woodruff for one more year. We're gonna see what happens, and then I'm gonna go after Milner just in case we need some more pitching depth. That means no Paddock, no Mejia, no Kepler, no Colin. All right, season 2, here we go. We're ranked 8th. Good contact, good defense, and then the rest are kind of sitting around mid of MLB. So with that being said, let's talk about this team a little bit because there weren't too many changes. My big question mark this year is Freddie Peralta. Will I re-sign him? I don't know. I checked in the offseason. He wants close to 20 mil for a contract, and that's kind of like that border of like, am I okay paying it or not? I'm like 15 I feel pretty comfortable with. Like, I'd be willing to pay 15. I feel like that's an okay amount, but like he wanted like 19.8 for a few seasons, and like that's I don't know. Would the Brewers be willing to pay 20 mil for a guy when I just don't know if they would. So on top of that, pitching this offseason was pretty thin unless it was like the top guy. I think the second best option in free agency was Ranger Suarez. So that kind of shows you how thin pitching was. And I believe he was like an 87 overall, and then it dropped down to 85, and then everything after that was like 82s, 80s, and it got a little bit lower. So Brandon Woodruff came back on a 1-year deal. We still have Myers, we still have Hall, and then Paddock came back on a 1-year deal. So there's that. Griffin Canning is our new Colin Ray, and he was 6.5 mil. I'm not feeling great about it. We do have plenty of players that we can call up in replace of him if need be. We'll see. We also do have some guys in the farm system that I feel comfortable using. Lineup, really quickly, not many changes. As you can see, Hoskins is back. Caratini's back after a couple seasons. We've got Bowers, Monasterio. You're probably going to get tired of seeing Grichuk, but he honestly is one of the best platoon outfielders that you can get for the bench or a starting spot. And then Arroyo's been called up. Lineup here, Wetzel's Pretzels has been moved from right to center, and he actually got an overall jump. I guess that's cool. And so he's gonna be he's waiting for his chance. I also didn't realize he was 6'4". This guy is a unit. This guy's a unit. We've got Cuero, we've got Wilkin, we've got Prado, we've got a Tyler Black also in the mix. We've got a couple guys. I've signed a couple guys to fill out the roster. And then of course in AA we got Duffy and Wright as our main guys, plus our pitching prospects. So let's see really quickly, where does Wetzel's Pretzels rank? Number 3, and Garinger ranks number 2, and then the generational talent is number 1. So there's that. Do we have any others? We have number 12. He actually fell down quite a bit because he was like number 3 last year. Okay. And then I already looked, but I saw something that was a little interesting. Hold on. Evan Carter's a red now. So there's that. Outside of that, I mean, I'm feeling pretty good about the team, and let's see what happens. I might make a trade. All right, I'm past the deadline. I'm at draft signing day. I'm gonna try this. I said 20 mil would be the most that I would offer a player for a contract, and I moved past the deadline thinking, you know what, I probably should have traded Peralta, but I want to see if I can get this deal across the table. 4 years, so if he would be 33 when he becomes a free agent, or 3 years, which still gives us the rest of the rebuild, and then he would become a free agent. Will he sign this deal? Or do I risk it and go 3 years, 20 mil, which I could potentially lose him for the last season of the rebuild, and then could I get him for less? Not much less. Okay, so either I guarantee he signs this, or I risk it and see if he'll take this. I'm gonna see if I can risk it and take this. He takes it. I'm gonna call that my one big boy signing. So we won the division 92-70, taking on the winner of the wild card, which, hey, there we go. We took it over from the Cubs 5 games, and it really just came down to this last month. We went on a good streak, won a bunch of games, and that's how we overtook them. Couple players kind of cooled off in the second half, so I'm going to adjust the roster, then we'll talk about the season. No awards this year, but Christian Yelich again is just absolutely mashing in the major leagues, which is good. That's what we need. 212 hits, better than his 198 last year. Like it a lot. So the big thing now is, how are we going to take this team to the World Series? Because I definitely think pitching might be a little bit of an issue. So awards, Cody Bellinger won MVP. That's an interesting group of 3 right there. Kyle Bradish won MVP. He went 23-2. How many games did they win? 102. He won a fifth of their games. It's insane. A whole, like, 1/5 of their games. Holy cow. That's crazy. That is crazy. Spencer Strider, obviously Bradish is going to be the MVP or the Cy Young winner with Grayson Rodriguez, another teammate. So it looks like Evan Carter was part of the Nick Lodolo trade. So that's how the Reds acquired Evan Carter. That's how the Rangers got Lodolo. Okay, interesting. Riley Green and Freddie Freeman were the batting title winners. I wonder how they decided this tiebreaker here. Was it home runs? Orion Kerkering is now with the Braves. Interesting. And Griffin Jackson won it on the other side. And then Joe Hansen, who was actually a free agent for the entire free agency. Like, I didn't pick him up. He was 80 rated with C potential. And obviously he dropped a little bit, but hey, the Athletics picked him up and it worked out for them, because I think they didn't make the postseason. What? How much? They fell 4 games short. At one point, how many? 11 games back in the West. Okay, at one point they were 1.5 games out in the West, and then they obviously fell off a little bit, but pretty close. And then Chase Burns won it on the NL side. So there's the generational talent. He also was involved in the rookie race. Okay, let's talk about this pitching staff. So I definitely need to invest in pitching this year. That's my area where I'm gonna have to pick up somebody that I feel like comfortable with. We're gonna lose some pitchers too. So Trevor Rogers didn't pitch at all this year. I think he's gonna be a long relief or a middle relief arm for us. The issue was we had DL Hall, who started some and then went to the bullpen for some, just really wasn't consistent. That's the big issue with him. I gotta find a way to just figure that out. Griffin Canning sucked. He had a 5 ERA. Not even gonna cover him much. Milner dropped quite a lot. He's down to a 69 overall. His ERA went up. His whip went up. It just struggled. Yeah. And then nobody else really pitched here. I gave Gasser a couple starts. Yikes. Mizorowski's not on the 40-man, and I'm running a little tight on some 40-man spots, so I'm going to have to figure that one out too. Will Warren, as you can see, pitched 16 innings in the majors this year. Some were starts, some weren't. There it is. Bryce Wilson only pitched 10 innings, so it's kind of tough to judge him. Scott Efros was pretty solid for us in the bullpen. Jared was pretty good in the bullpen. Ashby was okay. Again, you can see he started some and then was also some in the bullpen. He was fine. I think we'll be all right. Trevor McGill is slowly regressing, but I'm going to see if I can keep him on that RF deal. He was solid for us in the setup role, and then Brian Hudson continues to be a really good closer for us, so I'm happy with him there. Our starters, Peralta was solid, didn't really grow much, but still super consistent. Brandon Woodruff was actually pretty good this year, 207 innings. We've got Tobias Myers, who just kind of seems like he's going to be a low 4 ERA guy, which I'm okay with that. If he can be a 4 or 5 in a rotation, and that's our 4 or 5, that's still pretty good. And then Chris Paddock was also pretty solid too. So overall, I feel like we're not going to make it in the postseason just because of the pitching being pretty lackluster. I feel like we definitely need to pick it up a little bit. Jake Bauers continues to improve. The thing is, he can't start every day. This is him as like a only faces lefties / bench bat. I didn't start him at all versus righties, and this is what he put up. So he will be that bench bat for us. I can't start him versus righties. That's just not his forte. Garrett Mitchell, I gave him 400 at bats, and he didn't do it. So you know what that means. Speaking of the bench still, Rhys Hoskins struggled pretty heavily. Christian Arroyo was also up at times. He was whatever. And then Jefferson Cuero's taken over for Caratini, but he didn't get any at bats. So there's that. Also -10 versus lefties. Yikes. Really quickly, we'll just take a look at our prospects really fast. So you've got Wetzel, who's at the major league level. We have Gehringer, Fernandez, Phillips, and then Tillman. This guy I think is the guy to watch out for. If William Contreras starts to regress, he could take over. I'm going to give Cuero the opportunity, or if Contreras leaves in free agency, I'm going to give Cuero the opportunity for sure, but this is the guy to look out for. We've got a few others that look okay, but again, I'm definitely going to give him the opportunity to earn that catcher spot for sure. And then Wilkins not really developing that much, and neither is actually Tyler Black is, but also like him and Wilkin are pretty close to similar. I just don't know how I get them in the lineup with some of the talent that we have into the team. So we'll see. Really quickly, let's talk about this major league squad. Jackson Churrio's up to an 89. He looks unbelievable. I mean, the hitting stats are great. Love to see that. We've got Yelich, who was unbelievable again. Adames is kind of settling around like this area. I'm okay with it. I wish it was a little bit better. We've got him for another season before the team option kicks in. We'll see what happens. Contreras, like I said, he wants a lot of money, close to 25 mil a season. I don't know if I'm going to offer that. I might just see if we can maybe flip him in the offseason, give Cuero that opportunity. He's been fantastic, but at the same time, I'm not going to pay 25 plus mil for a catcher who's probably at his peak and about to become a free agent. So I just feel like obviously that's why you pay him, because he's about to become a free agent, but he's probably at his peak, probably not going to get much better. And we have two really good prospects. Might as well try to maybe get a pitcher for him instead. We'll see. Terang's been good. He did regress a little bit this year in terms of the OPS, like the slugging went down, but still fairly good season. That's not good. Why did the potential go down? He had a good season. That sucks. Joey Ortiz continues to do very well. Nick Prado just came up because we needed a first baseman in the last month of the season. He had an okay time, and then Wetzel's Pretzels has been called up, and hey, he got 72 ABs and looks pretty solid. He's up to an 83 too. So postseason time, like I said, a little worried about how this is going to go. Let's see here. All right, we're through to the Dodgers now. Ohtani versus Peralta. We win 2-0. Woodruff versus Glasnow. We lose that one. That's tough. And lose. We win that though. Okay, 2-2. We're one game away. Please, Woodruff, please. Comes down to Tobias Myers. Michael King has a 12.5 ERA. Tobias Myers has a 6.3. Who is it gonna be? Who's the winner? It is us. That is big for us. As much as I want to let Chris Paddock pitch, I'm gonna move everybody up a day. And I might even go Paddock over Myers. Myers is struggling. Myers is really struggling. World Series, Mariners versus Brewers. I mean, this is a big World Series for these organizations here. Looking at the teams, okay, all right, some moves for sure. Lazaro Montes is up. How did he play throughout the season? 20 games, okay. Christian Walker, 38 home runs is big for them. I mean, he was good for us in the Diamondbacks rebuild. So let's see how we do. Ooh, this is a huge World Series. We win the first. We win the second. That also said that Woodruff had a 10 ERA, by the way. We lose the third and the fourth. This is not good. Momentum has shifted completely. Oh no. It comes down to game 7. Chris Paddock on the mound versus Brian Wu. Or do I try to get... I gotta let Paddock go. We gotta let him go. Man, our starters have been rough, huh? I mean, that is not what you want to see from your starting rotation. And then Freddie Peralta. I mean, do I go to one of these two instead? I feel like I should. But who? I feel like I have to play the matchup. So I'm going to see what their lineups look like, righties versus lefties. I feel like I got to go with the righty lineup. How's our offense looking? Adames is looking trash. So is Terang. So are these guys. I feel like I got to go with the righty here instead of Paddock. And we're going to go Will Warren for the final game of the World Series. Does it work? It doesn't. We lose 5-2. And it wasn't even Warren that lost the game. It was the bullpen in the 10th. Oh, man. That's tough. That said, Ramon Urias hit 4 home runs in the World Series. Wow. I mean, That's tough. Pat Murphy decided to retire, so we're going to need a new manager. Game 7 of the World Series. Alrighty, season 3, we're down to 6th instead of like what, 3rd or something that we were last year. Contact went up, power went down, pitching went up, defense went up, and speed went up. So it's a mixed bag of ups and downs from this offseason. I spent a little bit of money, and I said I didn't really want to, but I needed some pitching. I really did. So we're going to start with the offensive side of things, and you're already going to see one of the pitcher, but I shuffled the lineup a little bit. I'm going to give Tyler Black an opportunity over like Nick Pratto and everybody else. We got a couple rookies on the bench. I do want to start Cuero, but he definitely can't start over Contreras, and that's really the rest of the squad. This is what we look like in AAA. But the big thing here is the pitching. So the bullpen, we've got a lot of different arms, like Uribe's up. We've got Ashby in the mix, Warren, Rogers, DL Hall's going to start. And then I brought back Woodruff for 11.5. The reason I brought him back was, one, I feel like he's a Brewer. Like, he needs to be on a team that wins the World Series, and 11.5 mils a deal. This is the money spender where I'm like, Brady Singer kind of had a breakout season in real life this year. And I'm looking at his previous seasons so far in this save, and he's been good. He's 30 years old. I got him on a 3-year deal with a player option on the last season, which really won't matter. So essentially we have him for the rest of the rebuild. The thing is, for 15 mil, I thought this was a pretty good deal. It was him or Jesus Luzardo, and I think I've only gotten Brady Singer once in a rebuild. So I felt like, you know what? Let's give Brady Singer a shot. Let's see how he does for us. And hopefully he can give us 2 good seasons. And then basically Woodruff will leave after this year, most likely, right? He'll be 35. That's basically it. So we'll have Myers, probably not DL Hall with the way he's pitching. We'll probably have some sort of mix of Gasser, Mizrachi, one of our draft picks, or Warren. Like, I want to get Mizrachi and Gasser another opportunity. It's just like they're not really growing like I would have hoped. You know, I was really hoping they would have been 76, 77, 78 at this point, and then I would have thrown them in over DL Hall 100%. So I'm rocking an extra pitcher than what I normally do, just because we have a lot of depth, and I feel like let's do that. But offensively, I think this team looks pretty good. Just a question mark with the first baseman, and like I said, we've got other options to turn to if need be. Plus, our look at this little AA squad too. I mean, this guy looks good. This guy looks good. So let's see what happens. Let's get through the season. This is a season I feel good about. Let's get through season 3. All right, deadline time, and really quickly, I just want to point out one player, and it is our AAA prospect, Adam Wright. I also didn't realize Adam Wright from the Dominican, but you can see the growth and look at the AAA stats. I might move him to third base. And that is because Joey Ortiz is slightly regressing. The only thing is Joey Ortiz is absolutely mashing right now. So just in case, we don't necessarily have anybody because Brock Wilken really isn't developing at all. So I might make Adam Wright a third baseman so that we have somebody at third base just in case Joey Ortiz starts to regress. Otherwise, everybody is doing very well. Jackson Chourio is struggling a little bit, but for the most part, everyone's doing well. And I'm not freaking out about Tyler Black just yet because he is developing very well. So yes, he is struggling a little bit at the plate, but I'm going to let him see out the whole season, and he is our first baseman. Jake Bauers, I've extended the contract. He basically wanted the same thing for the rest of the rebuild. I'm cool with that. Garrett Mitchell's doing well, but he does become a free agent fairly soon. So that's something I got to keep an eye on. And Jefferson Cuero is doing fine. Just not a lot of power in the bat so far. Now, my big issue is a certain someone wants $32 million this season. And the only way I can get him under 20 mil is if I give him a 14-year deal. And to put things into perspective, in real life, JT Realmuto is the current highest paid catcher, and he's making around 23 million. The next highest paid is Salvi at 20, and then I think it goes Wilson Contreras at around 18-ish, maybe 17, and then Will Smith at 14. I can't pay a catcher $32 million. I can't. The Brewers would not do that. And realistically, paying a catcher $30 million, he would have to be the best of the best. And He's had a couple silver sluggers, right? He's had one since this rebuild started. He's been a 2-time all-star since his rebuild started, but there's no gold glove. And yes, the bat is good. The bat is very good, but I can't pay a catcher $32 million. So what do we do? And I was looking through the team. I could go for a pitcher, but realistically, I kind of like the guys that we have coming up through the farm system. Plus, I want to give Jacob Mizrachi a chance, and I'm most likely going to move some of these guys into the bullpen because I feel like we could use them in the bullpen in the future for the final couple seasons of the rebuild. The other position that we're lacking a little bit is shortstop, because the two that I've drafted, they're just not going to be good hitters. And Willy Adames, even though his potential did go up to A, and he is having an absolutely amazing season, he does have a team option for next year. But the 5th year of the rebuild, he is a free agent, and we might not be able to afford him. So from there, I'm like, maybe we should have someone that is very close to MLB ready that we could call up if need be, if we can't keep Adames on the team. And looking at the standings here, there aren't too many teams that are in the postseason hunt that actually need a catcher. Most teams actually have 2 high quality MLB catchers, and the Cubs actually have 3, which sucks because I actually want one of their players in the shortstop named, is his name Christopher Sanchez? No, Carlos Santiago. I don't know why I thought he was the Phillies pitcher. I want this guy. He's 24. He would be very close to MLB ready, if not MLB ready. It's just one I normally don't like to trade within the division. And they also have 1, 2, 3, 4, I would say MLB ready catchers. They don't need another one. The only other team that I've noticed that does need a catcher is the Phillies here in the wild card race. And I looked at their team. They definitely do need a catcher. Let me show you really quickly. They have Nick Fortes and Rafael Marchan. Rafael Marchan is currently their starter. Those are the numbers he's putting up. So as you can see, William Contreras has a crazy high trade value. Essentially, I can get anybody. Just to give you an idea of who I could get, I could go out and get Carlos Correa. I could basically get Bobby Witt Jr. So yeah, for some reason, his value is way too high. But we're going to go back to the Phillies. What I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to take one of their backup catchers in Nick Fortes, and then I'm going to take one of their prospects, either Aiden Miller or Starling Caba. I actually think Starling Caba should be younger because I think he's 17 right now in real life. He's actually 18 in real life, so that would make him in 2027. He'd be a year younger than what he actually is showing in the game, which it's not a big deal. But as you can see, Starling Caba is actually having a pretty good season. It's just he has half the at-bats compared to Aiden Miller, and they're not too much different. So it really just comes down to, do I want Caba or do I want Aiden Miller? Both have all 3 options. So who do I want more? Honestly, I could get both, which is absolutely crazy, and I do think is a little bit ridiculous. I think I should only get one here. It's just, who do I want more? In the end, this is the trade that I'm going to get. It is an absolutely crazy trade, and the only reason I'm taking Nick Fortes is because I need a backup for Jefferson Cuero. But I'm also going to take Micah Bell, who has turned into a reliever in this roster, and he's 25 years old. He's got all 3 options left, and I am perfectly fine with getting an extra reliever in this team. So yeah, that's the trade. But the Brewers aren't going to pay a guy that kind of money, especially a catcher. I'm not going to pay that catcher that type of money, even though he is good. But let's go with the young guy, Jefferson Cuero. Let's get a good prospect for the future, and then also get an extra prospect in Micah Bell or Mick Abel, whichever it is, because why not? And I feel like we got a pretty good return. That's probably the craziest part of this rebuild. And honestly, I feel like we've done pretty good otherwise. So that's the move. And hopefully it actually works out for us. We'll see how Cuero does and go from there. Let's finish off the year. So 98-64, we finished this season. And you know what? I will take it. We ran away with the league, or the division, I should say. 9 games better than the Pirates. Okay. The Diamondbacks. Oh. Are they good? Are they nasty? Let's see what we got going on here. How come he couldn't do this in the Diamondbacks rebuild for us? He was bad for us. Let's take a look at, they got Nolan Arenado, Brendan Rodgers. Okay. Drew Jones. Yeah, okay. Let's look at their bench. Is interesting. Oh, they got Scooble and Ranger Swart. Oh, okay. Okay. Alrighty, so league leader wise, Peralta had the most wins and Yelich had the most hits, which is good. I like seeing that. Alec Burleson is now a Royal. Interesting indeed. Outside of that, okay. Ellie had the most triples, so did Lane Thomas. Did that? Oh, hold on. Josh Lowe. Oh, I thought that's a Nathaniel Lowe for a second. I was like, no way he's getting the most triples. Okay. Awards. What do we have here? We have a Cy Young for Freddie Peralta and maybe a Rookie of the Year for Tyler Black. Okay. Austin Riley was the MVP along with Aaron Judge. We've got Jack Flaherty with the Yankees winning Cy Young along with Freddie Peralta. Obviously, we saw that. He had a great season. Austin Riley batting title along with Alec Burleson. Andres Munoz and Vesia are the relievers of the year. And then Tyler Black beat out PJ Wetzel. Really? Just because of the home run total? But I mean, that's some good offensive growth. So yeah, he hit 239, which isn't amazing, but I'll take it. He's developing as a hitter. I like what I'm seeing. PJ Wetzel didn't really add too much pop to his bat, but he did add a little bit of contact. Had 13 home runs, 36 doubles, and 28 stolen bases. A pretty good first full season. I like what I see there. And then Tommy Nunez, who was the first or second pick in last year's draft, made his debut immediately and had a pretty good season. So interesting. All right, so with that in mind, I think we get an extra draft pick now because we won the Rookie of the Year. Either way, as you can see, we're gonna rock with this as our playoff bullpen rotation. One guy I'm gonna keep an eye on is, I don't know what to do with him, because like he had a decent season this year. You can see he didn't start anything. He was a middle relief guy or a long relief guy. I don't know if he's going to break the rotation. I'm going to try, but I can't promise anything. Will Warren, I've made a reliever, so his overall has dropped. I think that's just going to work. The best chance for him to actually get some opportunities to pitch. And also with him being lower rated, he might not get picked up on waivers. So we'll see how that works. Tobias Myers, I don't know what to do with him because he was very bad this year. Very bad. And Uribe was okay. He pitched 20 innings. He wasn't terrible. The walks are a big issue. So there we go. That's something we'll have to keep in mind. Other than that, DL Hall is probably going to be our long reliever moving forward. He wasn't terrible, but he wasn't great. Mizorowski had 16 games as a long reliever. Not bad as his first opportunity in the majors. Bryce Wilson is taking Uribe's spot. Trevor McGill is probably going to get let go this season. Maybe try to sneak one more season out of him. We'll have to wait and see how the offseason plays out. But he was good. He was very good. Same thing with Jared. He was also very good. But again, starting to regress. We've got some other arms that we could use. Aaron Ashby started to improve towards the second half of the season, which is good to see. Efros is also regressing. So we'll see what we do in free agency. But again, he was good. And then Brian Hudson, that is huge. That his potential went up. So let's keep him as our closer. Starters, Peralta was a Cy Young winner for a reason. He was absolutely nasty. Brady Singer is slightly regressing, but he gave us a really good season, so I'm okay with that. Trevor Rogers is doing fine as a 4 or 5 starter. And then Brandon Woodruff, probably his last season with the team, but I will take it. Offensively, our backup catchers, whatever. Jake Bauers hit 13 home runs in about the same amount of ABs as last year, so still good numbers. We've got Garrett Mitchell, who's putting up very good numbers off the bench. Like I said, he does become a free agent fairly soon, so I don't know what to do with him. We've got Eric Brown Jr. as our backup shortstop, and we're also going to bring up Monasterio for the postseason. Sal Frelick started to cool off in the second half of the season, but he was still really good as our leadoff hitter with 360 on base percentage. Yelich still putting up good numbers. It looks like the power is starting to dip a little bit, but I'm still happy with that. Wetzel, we've already seen. Adames, you can see what he's been doing with the A potential now. He might hit 90, which could be an issue because he probably will become a free agent at the end of the rebuild. Churio had his worst season by far, but I expect the bounce back season. We've talked about Tyler Black, the Rookie of the Year, and then Jefferson Cuero developed quite nicely and actually took his OPS from like 650 to 750 in just the second half of the season, I'm okay with that, right? Like he added, what was he at, 50 ABs when we started putting him in the lineup at the deadline. He got 150 more ABs and did fairly well. I'm okay with those numbers as a catcher. And then we talked about Joey Ortiz slightly regressing, but I mean, that's a career year by far, and Terang's still doing well also. So we're looking good offensively. We do have Kaba, we do have Wright, we have a couple other guys too. The team's fine. The team's fine offensively. It's just pitching's been the issue, which is a little bit of a bummer. So let's see who we take on now. It is the Braves, and we lost the first game, which sucks. We didn't score, right? We lose 8-7 here. Mizorowski apparently blew the game in the 7th. I mean, our starter really didn't help us out, allowing 3 runs in the first. Let's see what happened here. So who pitched? It was Rogers got rocked. Then DL Hall came in and got rocked. Honestly, I might get rid of those two. Not scoring this game is pretty tough. And then we only scored 1 run in the Singer game. And yeah, that's a tough outing. The Braves won the World Series. Okay. I mean, we got 2 seasons to turn this thing around, right? And it's not looking great. So with that in mind, I'm definitely taking this option. And how much does he want? He really doesn't want a lot of money, huh? I think, oh, wow, I need a lot of coaches. I think I let him walk. Okay. Off-season time. This is my big question mark. This little area of the rotation. I did give arbitration to Rogers and Hall. I kind of went into autopilot and didn't mean to, but I did. I'm going to see what Hall can do with minimal innings this year as a middle reliever. Because when he only pitched 60 innings, he was decent. Once we started getting into the hundreds, not great. So no long relief, just middle relief. Maybe he can sit around 30, 40, maybe 50 innings, and that'll work for him. If it doesn't work out, then we get rid of him. Trevor Rogers with the 4.15 ERA, I think I can work with that as a long reliever. Plus, looking at this bullpen, I feel comfortable with it as long as a couple guys hold their rating. But if it doesn't work out, we do have Barlow, Piguero, Micabel, and these 3 here that could potentially step in. Randy McDonald, the CPU drafted this season, like literally in season 3. So we have him here. Will Warren, I think as a reliever, could be okay as well. So I feel comfortable with our bullpen. Starters, Tobias Myers, my biggest question mark. This season was tough, real tough. The ERA is in a bad spot. I don't know what to do with that. I do want to give Gasser and Mizorowski the 4 and 5 spot. I think that's perfectly fine. It's just the question mark at number 3. Offensively, I'm really comfortable with everything. I do have to figure out what I want to do with Garrett Mitchell. I could potentially trade him, but again, I offered him arbitration, so right now I can't. I'd have to wait till the season starts. But overall, the team's looking good. Like I said, we've got Aaron Wright, who could play catcher or third base. But again, Cuero was pretty decent this season, so catcher seems okay. So my one target for a pitcher is going to be Tristan McKenzie, just because I don't want to spend big on any of these guys here. Something about Bailey Ober makes me think Milwaukee Brewer, but at the same time, he wants almost 20 mil. So I'm going to say no. But Tristan McKenzie, we've got a potential. He's only 30. He doesn't have the best of numbers, but I'm looking at it going 5.5 mil a season for 2 years. That second year's got a club option, so if it doesn't go well, we let him go. But maybe in the Brewers lab, we can get something cooking. If not, it was 5 mil. It doesn't work out. So I'm still trying to find those diamonds in the rough. Plus, in real life, Tristan McKenzie really struggled this season. Maybe he needs to change the scenery. But also, I was looking at teams that missed the postseason, had bad records, and could potentially use an influx of young talent. There's a certain team that the Brewers made a trade with for a starting pitcher back in the day, and it was a big trade, and it was for a pitcher named Zach Greinke, and that team was the Royals. That trade involved Lorenzo Cain. My Lorenzo Cain could have been Garrett Mitchell, but sadly, I offered him arbitration, so can't include him in the trade. But I'm looking at this team going, my God, they need pitching, and they need pitching badly. Good thing I got a bunch of it. I've got Kutch, I've got Drummond, I've got Amoros, I've got Clark, I've got Fernandez, I've got Julio, I've got Garinger. I've got pitching for days. They also do want a catcher, so technically I could give them Adam Wright, but I want Cole Reagans. He's about to become a free agent at the end of the year, and looking at his numbers, they haven't been amazing, but a 93 overall pitcher who just turned 30 with 8 potential, that's a pitcher that I need. And plus, like I said, their team doesn't look great. Pasquantino's about to become a free agent. Fermin's not too far away from a free agency. Michael Massey is about to become a free agent. Michael Garcia is not too far. Like, Vinny Pasquantino is not too far. Like, this team is actually pretty close to becoming a big mess. Alec Burleson's about to become a free agent. Like, they could be headed towards full rebuild. And yeah, Garrett Mitchell could be a decent pickup for them, but at 29 years old, I feel like that doesn't fit the whole rebuild idea. So I'm going to give them Kutch, I'm going to give them Drummond, and then I'm also going to give them this prospect in Ivan Cedeno. We don't need a first baseman. I'm perfectly fine with Tyler Black being that guy. So this is going to be the trade for Cole Reagans, and we have a new start. And rather than offer him arbitration, I want to see what I can do as a contract. He wants 14 mil. I think I just pulled off the deal of the summer. Alrighty, so 4th season, you currently see this is probably one of the best overall rankings that we have with the pitching, the defense, the speed, the contact, overall rank. We did lose a little bit of power. And let's talk about the team. So yeah, pitching looks good. Cole Reagans did sign that contract of $13.8 million over 5 years. So each year, 13.8 essentially. Obviously it's backloaded, but yeah. We got another ace in the rotation, which is absolutely crazy. This is what our bullpen currently looks like. We do have a couple guys in the farm system. We'll see how Tobias Myers does. I want to see how he can do in AAA. Maybe get him a good string of starts before we call him back up. And then this is our bullpen too. So it looks pretty good. I might even make Will Warren the closer just to get him a couple more high pressure situations. Actually, no, I won't. I'll do that. So this is the team. I like it. I like it a lot. I feel like this is the team for sure. Look at the offense. It looks good. Obviously, Joey Ortiz, we're keeping an eye on. He doesn't hit lefties well, and Adam Wright kind of does. So he might be a guy that I call up anyways just to face lefties in the lineup. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, Willy Adames becomes a free agent at the end of the year. We'll have to wait and see if we can get him back on a friendly deal. I took a look in the offseason. He wants around 20-ish mil. And I don't really want to add another big contract onto the team because we currently have Yelich, Peralta, Singer, Reagans, Churio. So I kind of feel like those are kind of the big ones already. So I don't really want to add another one on top of that. And we did go out and get Starling Kaba. So I'm really hoping for some good growth this year so he can be in the team. And then, of course, we still have Wright and a couple other guys too. So the team as a whole is not bad. I feel like this team is good enough to win. It should be good enough to win. Let's get through season 4. So we finished 162, which I think is our best record ever. And we're going to have some tough decisions this offseason, but I'm feeling pretty good about the team this postseason. Alrighty, league leaders. Robert Gasser had the best winning percentage. Take that with a grain of salt. And Brian Hudson had 50 saves, which is awesome. Really quickly flying through the award or like the league leaders. Some interesting ones. Luis Ranifo, was that hits? 209 for Luis Ranifo? Really? Huh. That's an interesting one. Jackson Churio led the league in triples. Okay. And if we take a look at awards, Gold Gloves. That was it. Our corner outfielders got Gold Gloves. So Ohtani was MVP. So was Aaron Judge. Alec Burleson was in the mix. Okay. Nick Lodolo and Hunter Green won the Cy Young. I guess Robert Gasser was in the mix for the Cy Young. I didn't realize that he was that crazy this season. He was 19-3, but he only started 11 games, and that's why I was saying take it with a grain of salt, because I was like, he didn't really start that much, you know what I mean? So Blade had the batting title along with Mookie Betts. We got Luke Weaver as reliever of the year, beating out Brian Hudson, which is disappointing. And then Ian Hamilton was the reliever of the year on the other side. Walter Jenkins won Rookie of the Year, and Connor Griffin won it on the NL side, which is interesting. But let's talk about the team. So Peralta did struggle a little bit, so I think I'm going to adjust this a little. but I'll still keep him as the 2. But as the bullpen, I did give Mizorowski some starts, 15. He really struggled this year. I still am going to give him another shot in the rotation, but we'll see how it goes moving forward. Tobias Myers, I just think it's a lost cause. That's back-to-back years of almost a 7 ERA. It sucks because he did develop a little bit this year, so maybe as a long reliever, but I'm just not too sure what to do with him moving forward. Micah Bell's here, and then where is Will Warren? Oh, he's in single A. Why is that the case? He was in triple A, so maybe at the postseason they just shuffled everything around. Either way, I'm trying to see if there was a but Tobias Myers is kind of my main concern. I don't know what to do with him. It's not great. It's not great. But Trevor Rogers, again, a 4-something ERA. I don't know. I think him and DL Hall, it's got to be one or the other. I think I'm okay with that from DL Hall, though. Tristan McKenzie did have a 4.16 with a 1.4 whip. It's not bad. And, slotting him in one of these 2 spots isn't the worst outcome. But I think it depends on what happens with Brady Singer. If he doesn't take the player option, maybe I keep Tristan McKenzie. If he does keep the player option, maybe I'll let Tristan McKenzie go. We'll have to wait and see. But I do think this is an okay season. It's not bad for a 4 or 5 starter. We've got Bryce Wilson, who was fantastic. We've got DL Hall, who, again, not amazing, but better as a reliever. Uribe only got 15 innings, so it's kind of tough to judge him there. 50 innings from Ashby. He was unbelievable. Efros was also very good as a setup guy. And then Brian Hudson continues to be a very, very good closer. So I'm going to keep him around for sure. And then we've talked about our starters. Cole Reagans was fantastic. Freddie Peralta struggled for sure. Still got him for a couple more seasons, so I need him to turn it around. Brady Singer was great. And Robert Gasser was good. So I can't knock him. I can't knock him at all. He was pretty solid. Lineup wise. So Caba's up to an 80. Could potentially start for us next year. Outside of that, not too much has changed except for one thing. So Nick Fortes is still our backup catcher, right? We've got Jake Bowers here, who still continues to mash off the bench. Awesome. Love that. Garrett Mitchell becomes a free agent. It solely depends on how much he wants. If he doesn't want a lot of money, I'm keeping him on the team. Joey Ortiz. He wasn't having a bad season. The average is good. The on-base percentage is good. The OPS isn't bad at all. It's just when I took him out of the lineup, he was hitting like 250. So he picked it up once he came off the bench. You can see he had 100 games. Things weren't bad, right? It's just he is regressing heavily. And then Andrew Monasterio's here. So that means we've got a new guy in the lineup. And it's not Sal Frelick, but he was very good as our leadoff guy once again. He just is very consistent. Willie Adames also had a good season. Wasn't as good as last year, but still was pretty good. Christian Yelich, great season once again. The power came back, it seems. Love to see that. Jackson Chourio, huge rebound season. Career season for sure. Career year easily. Wetzel, a little bit of a sophomore slump, but still a pretty decent season. I'll take that for sure. Adam Wright has moved to third base for us, and in 170 at-bats, he was fantastic. I love it. Stolen bases, walks, RBIs, home runs, doubles. Awesome. He is our third baseman moving forward. Tyler Black continues to improve. I like to see those numbers for sure. And then Jefferson Cuero, a little bit of a sophomore slump, but he's our catcher. I'm okay with it. Bryce Terang still putting up good numbers at the second base spot. I like this team. I think this team is going to do it this year. We are facing the Mariners, the Marlins. What do they got going on? We are in season 4, so we got to beat this team. I was going to say a lot can change. A lot has changed for the Marlins. They do have some good pitching, but we got to beat this team. We got to win this. We can't lose. That's a good start. Even better start. A sweep is just what we need. The Dodgers, huh? Let's see what they got. Okay. It's not as crazy as what I'm used to seeing for a Dodgers squad. Like, that's definitely beatable. So we're going to go Reagans, Peralta, Singer, and we should be good. How are we going to do? We lose the first and the second? That can't happen, guys. I mean, we're still alive. It comes down to Brady Singer versus Tyler Glasnow. We're in a World Series. Holy cow. It's not going to be Gasser for this matchup, but it's not like Singer is our best pitcher. And Gasser's actually not pitching bad, though. He is at, wait, 5. I thought it said, so wait. Oh, okay. I mixed up the ERA. So Reagan's pitching well. Reagan's, I think we're going to go like that for the World Series against the Yankees, which that's a decent team. The offense, it kind of gets worse as you get towards the bottom for sure, but the pitching is juiced. So second World Series, if you don't remember, we lost the World Series to the Mariners a couple years ago. That one was tough. All right, so Reagans versus McClanahan, we win 2-1. That's a tough matchup. Then 10-2 the next time. Peralta versus Luis Gil, we win. We're up 3-0. Can Robert Gasser bring it home for the Brewers? No. But can Cole Reagans? No. Can Brady Singer? Yes, he does. 9-4. I thought it was about to go to a game 7, and I was about to be so upset because I knew if it went to game 7, it was the Yankees 100%. Who was our MVP? It was Christian Yelich. It had to be. It had to be both World Series and playoff. Jackson Chourio looks like he had a good playoff. Bryce Terang also looked like he had a good playoff series. Pitching was a little iffy, right? Like Reagans was good. Brady Singer was unbelievable. And looking at the bullpen, some weren't great, but some were unbelievable. And if we take a look at our bench here, or our lineup, Yelich was great. Chourio was great. Wetzel was great. Wright struggled a little bit. Okay. Cuero and Terang were pretty solid too. Jake Bauers probably got some ABs, and he did some business. Yay, we won a World Series, and that's all that matters. Let's get to the offseason. Let's see what happens here. I know a couple of our coaches are going to retire. That's perfectly fine. Let's see if we can run it back. Alrighty, final season. This is the team rank. It looks pretty good besides the power. We're top 5 in everything besides the power. This is our pitching. As you can see, there are no changes except for Bo Brisky, who has been phenomenal for the Tigers as a closer. We paid $5 million for him to be our setup guy. So I'm really happy with that deal. I did also pick up a couple extra bullpen arms in Wantz and Foley. So we do have that depth if need be. Our farm system looks great. I feel great. So like if things go poorly in the major leagues, we definitely have the depth to turn to if need be. Offensively, the only change is Kaba is now our shortstop, and Josh Lowe, who signed for $7.5 million, is our backup outfielder. He hit 27 home runs last year. Again, he's going to be our backup, so I'm not too worried about it. $7.5 million, not a bad deal. Joey Ortiz, Eric Brown Jr., these are our bench bats. I like the team. I think this is a really good team that we've assembled. A lot of prospects that we've drafted, or was already part of the organization. Kaba was really the only one that we went out and got. Wetzel we drafted. Everybody else is a Brewer. Oh, right, we also drafted. So that's pretty good. Pitching, we had to switch it up a little bit, but I feel pretty good about that. Adames went to the Orioles for, I think, $14 million over the next 3 seasons. Yeah, $14 million on average for 3 seasons. I'm okay missing out on that. We did get Kaba instead. And then, Mitchell. Where did Mitchell go? He went to the Guardians. How much did they give him? $12 million for 3 seasons. Okay, so kind of what he wanted from us, but we just weren't going to give him a multi-year deal, and he wanted $12 million. I'm not going to pay $12 million for a bench bat. So that is the team. We are going to rock with it. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling pretty good. Budget-wise, we've kept a pretty healthy budget throughout this entire rebuild. We are losing quite a few players this year. As you can see, all of these guys become free agents at the end of the year, like the whole team. So this is a chance to make another World Series and end this rebuild on a high. Let's do it. 97-65, taking on the winner of the wild card, which is going to be the Dodgers or the Diamondbacks. Okay. Alrighty, so our league leaders were Brian Hudson and Cole Reagans and Freddie Peralta, so good pitching from those 3. And then offensively, Wetzel had the most walks. Okay, so awards, what do we have here? A delivery man of the year for Brian Hudson. He's been fantastic throughout this entire rebuild. And Freddie Peralta with his second Cy Young. So we did lose DL Hall to waivers. I'm okay with that. The Rockies picked him up. Sure. Nathaniel Lowe won the MVP. Gunnar Henderson now with the Angels also won MVP on the AL side. Cade Povich, Cy Young winner, and Freddie Peralta, Cy Young winner, his second. And also both times he was an all-star. So great signing that we did. Like the extension for 20 mil, great signing. He's been fantastic throughout this entire rebuild. Correa was the batting title winner along with Corbin Carroll. Hudson, reliever of the year. I mean, we made him the closer right off the rip, and he was unbelievable every single season. 2026, he was a little shaky, but when you take a look at the awards, reliever of the year in 2029, two-time All-Star. This guy was huge for us, huge. Kevin Kelly won it on the other side. This guy's a rookie, and then Matthew Liberatore was also in the mix. Rookie of the year goes to Fernando Cruz. Okay. We've got Julio Castro, who looks like a drafted player from the Marlins, and then Colin Houck, which is a Mets draft pick in real life, or a Mets prospect in real life. On the other side, it was Max Clark, Salvador Gonzalez, and Jason Casillas. Okay, so with that in mind, let's talk about our pitching staff. So I did give Mizrachi some opportunities. These were his MLB stats. Definitely did struggle, but at least it was better than the previous year. Sadly, it just really wasn't working for him. I also did give Abner some time, and as you can see, not good either. Who else? Tobias Myers also got another chance. It wasn't good. Robert Gasser was fine. He wasn't as good as last year, but he was fine. Nothing too crazy. A little disappointing, to be honest. Bryce Wilson, 2 seasons, unbelievable stuff from him. I like that a lot. Wantz is going to come up and help us out, take over Uribe's spot. Ashby, not as good, but still fairly decent. Will Warren, that's what I'm looking for. So we made him a reliever. Turns out that's what was his best position. And then Brisky, I'm assuming it's Brisky. If I'm wrong, let me know. But he was a good setup guy. And then we've already talked about this guy. He was electric. Did we get any awards for any other all-star appearances from our bullpen? No. Peralta, we've already talked about. He was unbelievable. Had that one bad season. Outside of that, very consistent starter. Cole Reagans dropped another 3.5 ERA. Really good year. Tristan McKenzie with the 4. For 5.5 mil, that's not too bad. And then Brady Singer struggled a little bit this season, which is disappointing. Lineup wise, our backup catcher wasn't great. Kind of expected. Prado came up because Jake Bauers sucked. He was so bad, but I can't knock him. For 3 years, he was unbelievable off the bench. So I can't say anything bad about him. He was really good off the bench. So Prado came up and basically did the Jake Bauers. So I'm okay with that. Sal Frelick struggled a little bit this season. He had a good on base percentage, but home runs were basically the same. It's just the average dipped a little bit. So Joey Ortiz was good off the bench, and then he continues to just be that shortstop for us. Bryce Harang is our new leadoff hitter, still really solid. Jackson Churio, back to being back to Jackson Churio. I mean, those 2 seasons still really good. Just the power dipped a little bit this season. Yelich still doing Yelich things. Wetzel, unbelievable season for him. Another career year. Adam Wright, little sophomore slump. Tyler Black, okay, I'll take that. The OPS dipped a little bit, but still a pretty okay season. Starling Caba as his first full season. I'll take that for sure. For a guy I'm not looking a lot of power, or I'm not looking for a lot of power from him, a good on base percentage, a good average, just what I need. And the OPS was close to 800 anyways. Cuero definitely struggling, definitely not a Contreras behind the plate, but that's perfectly fine. And then Josh Lowe took over in the outfield and actually gave us a pretty good season. So I'll take that for sure. So this is the team heading into the postseason to take on the Diamondbacks. Have they made any changes? Okay. Christian Arroyo starting for him? Really? We can't lose to this team. We can't lose to this team. We just can't. We cannot lose. Please don't lose. Please don't lose. Okay, thank you. All right, so now we're taking on the Padres. Please don't lose. We're taking on the Padres. This is a good team. We've got Kurtz, How did they do that? So they traded for him last year. Oh, okay. I mean, Eguy Rosario made it up to an 86 overall, or Eggy, whatever his name is. I mean, I don't know about this one. So we're gonna have Reagan's pitch, right? I don't know what to say. I think this might be the end of our road unless we just go crazy here. Reagan's, please stop losing, man. Peralta keeps us in it, and we're in the World Series against the Rangers, who I know have made a lot of changes. Let's go take a look and see what they've done. So they still have Langford, but they've got O'Neal Cruz, Seager, Robert, Kyle Tucker, Sheets, Young, Sosa, Mejia. Okay, and the pitching, yeah, that's like a completely different pitching staff. I don't really know what to do with our pitching staff because ours is, holy cow, we have Peralta and that's it. We have Peralta and that's it. And we've got Singer pitching now. I mean, we'll just move everybody up. I mean, maybe something like that and hope it works. Actually, we could have Peralta go game 1. We're going to do that and keep our fingers crossed. I don't even think Singer deserves an opportunity here. I think we're going to go Gasser and maybe even Mizorowski and then hope it works. Hope it works. Please. Please. So Peralta loses. Reagan's loses. We're going to get swept. We didn't get swept. We're still alive. We're still alive. Can Jacob Mizorowski win the World Series for us? We're going to hop into it. We're hopping into it. We'll do a quick manage. We're hopping into it at home. Let's go with, do we go with like a Peralta for a couple innings? Let's go with Mizorowski. The lineup set. Can we do it? A walk, a fly out, fielder's choice. Please no runs in the first. Okay. Runs happen in the first. We got to get those 2 back. We got to get those 2 back. Okay, so 2 innings. I might try to stretch it for 3, but let's see. We need some offense, guys. We need some offense. That's going to be it for Mizorowski. I feel like 3, we can't get too greedy. We're tied. Jefferson Cuero. That is huge for us. And I'm not going to get greedy here. I'm actually going to go to, let's see, lefty. Let's go with the lefty here. And we get out of it. That's big. We got to get some runs, though. And I think Mejia hits lefties better, so let's go with the righty here. Let's go with, do we go Peralta? And see if he can give us a couple innings. Let's do it. Can he do it? He does. That's big. And, okay, a double here. I'm liking what I'm seeing here. I don't like that Wetzel's so low in the lineup, though. Why is that the case versus lefties? I should have noticed that. But with 2 outs, can Yelich be the man? He cannot. That's tough. 6th inning. We need some offense. Wright gets on base. A pop-up. 1 run scores thanks to Tyler Black. That is huge for us. Then Terang brings in another. They're going to go to the pitching change. And I don't think I have anybody that hits lefties well on the bench. I don't. So I think we just got to go with the same squad and hope that Sal here gets us another run or 2. Okay, he doesn't. I was gonna say I'm gonna keep going until Peralta gives me a reason not to, and I think that's the call. The thing is, do I get greedy here because there's 2 lefties coming up? I think I do. He gets the out, and this is when I go to another lefty in Gasser and then save Hudson for later, or Reagan's. This is tough. This is for all the marbles. So, okay. Cuero's up. They're going to go to Dowry Moreta. Ground out, fly out, strikeout. I got to get the out here. So, a single's tough. A fly out, a single, a pinch runner. Okay. Double play is huge by Cole Ragans. Huge. And we need a couple insurance runs. 2 is not going to be enough. Please. That's good. That's good. And a fielder's choice and a ground out. Okay. Josh Young hits lefties really well. And I think so does Sosa. And I think so does Mejia. So I think this is a Bo Brisky angle. And just please don't blow it. Yes, back-to-back World Series for the Brewers. And look at Freddie Peralta coming and giving us 2 2/3 of no-run ball when we needed it. We gave up 2 in the first. It got a little dicey, but we came back, won it 4-2, and the award goes to Bryce Terang for the World Series MVP and Christian Yelich as the postseason MVP. I will take it. Look at the offense. Churrio struggled a little bit, but Yelich was great. Wetzel was great. Wright was okay. Tyler Black delivered when we needed him to, so I'm going to let that low average be perfectly fine. He still got 10 RBIs. Caba, Cuero delivered when we needed him to with that home run. That was massive. The pitching was a little shaky, but Peralta was great. Ragans gave us some innings when we needed him to. Mizorowski gave us the start. Gasser gave us some. I mean, actually, that's a pretty good outing from Gasser for the postseason. And then let's see the bullpen here. The bullpen was good. Brisky was good. Hudson struggled a little bit, but I am going to take it. We got it done with this Brewers team. 2 World Series. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button down below. Let me know what team you want to see next in the comment section. And of course, subscribe. If you want some more rebuild action, check it out on screen now. I think you'll really enjoy this one. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.